It's the weekly show with David J. Maloney. This week, David talks to three-time Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter Tom Chapin. And now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome to everyone at home, and I would normally say our studio audience to the weekly show. I'm your host, David J. Maloney. I say normally because we would usually shoot the show before a small studio audience at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, but we are still shooting from home due to coronavirus concerns. We do hope to gain clearance to get back to our live-to-tape shows soon. So, the CDC is now reporting that COVID-19 can survive up to 3 days on plastic, which is precisely why you should avoid the Kardashians. And according to the White House Coronavirus Task Force, millennials will be the key to ending the pandemic. And in other news, we're all going to die. Let's see, Jay Leno has just apologized for past anti-Asian jokes, but inexplicably, he still hasn't apologized for Ross the intern. William Shatner recently turned 90. At this point, to boldly go means he forgot his daily dose of fiber. Oh, and have you seen the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League on HBO Max? It's over 4 hours long, but if you fast forward through all the slow motion sequences, it's actually only an hour and 15 minutes. Following Tom Brady's most recent Super Bowl win for Tampa, more and more fans are referring to him as the GOAT, which got me thinking, what would we call the greatest GOAT of all time? And lastly, a belated happy birthday to rapper Salt of Salt and Pepper, who just turned 55. Obviously, Salt is his stage name. Her real name is sodium chloride. On tonight's show, we've got a member of one of the most musically talented families I've ever known. The storytelling in his songs is often coupled with social conscience and an eye on just making the world a better place for all of us. He's also the author of several children's books, and his philanthropy with Why Hunger continues to be a shining light on his and his brother Harry Chapin's legacy. I am so very, very pleased to say that we have three-time Grammy winner Tom Chapin on the show with us tonight. So stick around, and we'll be right back.
Sun going down, gentle blue giant, spin us around.
Our featured guest tonight comes from one of the more musically and civically impactful music families of the past 50 years. From father to sons and now the Chapin sisters, the Chapin family name has had a place in music for generations. Tom Chapin continues that legacy of great music, storytelling, and philanthropy, and is also a well-respected children's book publisher to top it all off. Here to chat about it all is Papa Tom Chapin himself. Tom, welcome to the show. Oh, and a happy belated birthday.
Thank you so much. They keep firing faster than you think.
So your family's been a mainstay in the music world for a long, long time. I mean, everyone knows of your brother, Harry Chapin, but your father, he was, I guess, almost an academic when it came to music theory and was a legendary percussionist. Where did he pick up music? He was
an only child of a quite an amazing woman, my grandma. She was, I think, 37 and never thought she'd have children. Then she, late in life, had her son, and it was like the light of her life. So, she had a very powerful mother as well. So he was a very spoiled kind of guy, and only child. And when he was in college, not going to class and flunking out, his roommate had some big band recordings. He's 17 years old. And so he gets really enthused about this, and he goes to see the Benny Goodman Quartet in 52nd Street in New York City. He lived in New York. And he said it was 52nd Street, and they were playing, and he fell in love with Gene Krupa's drumming. Wow. So he has a lot of chutzpah, and at the first break, he runs up to Mr. Krupa and says, "Mr. Krupa, I want to do what you do. Would you teach me how to do this?" And Gene says, "Kid, I don't do that. But I tell you what, here's the guy who taught me. His name is Sanford Moeller. Sanford Moeller. Here's his number. 2 years later, Dad's a professional drummer.
It seems like with all the Chapins, it's the arts are all kind of in your nature, perhaps with a little bit of nurture, no?
Oh, well, sure. The family has been a big thing, you know, and I started playing this music. I mean, my brother Steve and I were choir boys. Harry played classical trumpet. You know, we had a lot of music in our life. And my dad, of course, was a player. But when I was 12 and Harry was 14 and Steve was 11, we heard a recording called The Weavers at Carnegie Hall, the great folk group, The Weavers, Pete Seeger, Ronnie Gilbert, Lee Hayes, and Fred Hellerman, who inspired everybody. Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Kingston Trio, Tom Paxton, the Limelighters, on and on. And they were left-wing, wonderful folk group. And we heard the recording when they came back from the Blacklist in 1955. They played a concert at Carnegie Hall called The Weavers at Carnegie Hall, which was recorded and changed our lives. And we listened to it all summer long. I was 12. End of the summer, Harry said, we could do that. And he got a 5-string banjo. I got a guitar. Steve started playing ukulele first and then bass, and we became the Chapin Brothers. That was what the inspiration for us was. The music spoke to us because pop music at that time was just, I mean, very little rock and roll. You know, Little Richard just hit with, you know, wow, baba-loo, baba-loo, baba. Otherwise, it was, you know, Patti Page and love songs. That was pop radio. And so this music that they were singing really spoke to us. It spoke to the human condition, you know, 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. And the Woody Guthrie songs and all this stuff. I said, wow, we could do that. And so we did.
So I saw a clip of where the Chapin Brothers played a show earlier in your career, I think in Canada, that Joni Mitchell was on.
She was Joni Anderson then.
So this was before she got big too.
Sure. It was early on. That was Oscar Brand's show, Sing Out. That was, and they actually had amazing people on it because a lot of the blacklisted people couldn't play on television. Still, Pete Seeger and various people, Josh White and Burl Ives and those people, and yet he could. Oscar had him on his radio show in New York City, and then went up and did a Canadian show. He's Canadian.
How did the TV show Make-A-Wish come about?
Harry was doing documentary films, and so we kicked him out of the band, so there's a different band now called the Chapins, and it was Steve, myself, and 2 other guys playing kind of folk rock, and we were the house band at the bitter end, and they were looking for a folk singer for this new TV show for kids. And the history that I know of was they asked John Denver, and he said no. And then they started having auditions, and Dolores, who was Doris, who was at the woman who worked at the door of the bitter end, suggested me. And so Paul Colby, who owned the bitter end, said, hey, Dolores, I got these people are bugging us about this kid show. And she thinks you'd be good. You want to call it? And the rest of the band said, well, you want to be Captain Kangaroo? Wait, that's ridiculous, you know. And but I've always had this theory that what you do in life is if there's a door opens, you peek inside and see, does this make sense? As opposed to saying, no, I don't go through that door. And so I said, sure, give me the number. I called them up, went and had an audition.
Can you tell us the story behind Circle?
Sure. The first, Harry, so I get the show, right? And they say, great, do you write some songs? I said, not really, but I have a brother who's a writer, because I hadn't really started writing yet. And so I sang a song for them of Harry's. I said, fine. So Harry suddenly got the job to write 2 songs for every show. And actually, he made more money that first year than I did as the host for writing the songs, right? So that same summer, this is the summer of 1971, we had rented a club in New York City. We were playing every 4 nights a week, and that was the summer that Harry got back into music. And when he actually started, he wrote Taxi and those songs. And that winter, that hit. But that summer, he's writing for Make-A-Wish we were playing 4 nights a week, and he's rehearsing in between and putting that together. That's a different story. But on Sunday night, we just played the 4 nights. We were having a burger, and Harry was living out in Long Island. And I said, do you have the song for tomorrow? He goes, which one is it? I look, Circle. He goes, no, I'll have it for you. I said, what time do you leave in the morning? I said, I got to be there at 7:15. I leave it at 6:45. He goes, I'll call you 6:30. Then he goes in the train. And so at 6:30, I get out of the shower. I'm dripping. Ring. Okay, what is it? All My Life's a Circle. Like, get a piece of paper. Sunrise and sundown. 2 verses. And I said, what's the tune? Da 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 da. I went, bum bum bum. I didn't write it out in music. I just went da 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 da. That's the fifth. Da 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 da. Wrote it down like that. And that day, I was living with my mother that summer, and she was listening to all this, And then I sing it a few times, and then I go off to work. And that day, I was walking around they were filming in New York City, and so I walk around the Alice in Wonderland in Central Park. There's Alice in Wonderland statue, and they were walking around in between planes and motorcycles and stuff. I had to sing it live, and I walked around saying, all my life's a circle, sunrise and sun. And it would have died there, because it was like the rest of the songs of the whole summer, except my mom heard me singing that. And next time she sees Harry, she goes, by the way, that Circle song, that's a good song. Oh, okay. Oh, you like it? Okay, thanks, Mom. Next time, Harry, that Circle song, that's a good song. So he finds, and so then he gets the record deal, and he realizes that he doesn't have the songs. So one of the songs he puts on it is All My Life's a Circle. Year later, next summer, meanwhile, then Harry's hit with Taxi. So suddenly there's this, best nominated for a Grammy for the best new artist, all this stuff. I'm now going to London to do Make-A-Wish in London, a month and a half, 13 shows, 26 songs. And I get over there, and the #1 hit in London, across the world, by the New Seekers is All My Life's a Circle. It shows how quickly things change. I get there and go, wait a minute, that's my song. How did this happen? And so life has a way of surprising you in wonderful ways.
So at some point, your brother, Harry Chapin, gets his big break. And then there was the bidding war between Atlantic and Elektra. Is it true?
Not Atlantic, Columbia.
Columbia.
Is it? Columbia.
Now, what did the family think of all that when it was happening?
It was exciting, watching this happen. And Harry was indefatigable. He was the one who, instead of waiting for somebody to make phone calls, when he's opening for us at the Village Gate, and all day long he's calling up record companies. Hi, this is Farley Higgins, and I want to tell you about this guy Harry Chapin, who's doing so and so and so and so. And can you come down? We'll give you tickets. Blah blah blah. And he just, because he'd been in and out of college. He'd been he flunked out of Cornell twice, and he worked in the film business. He was a grown man. He was 27 years old, and he'd been working for 5, 6, 7 years in the real business. Whereas Steve and I got out of school, and suddenly, and I got my TV show, and we were a little more like, oh, life is good. We don't have to, we can sort of float along here. Harry was like, and he believed in what he did. And so for us, it was like watching this shooting star.
Well, I'll tell you, the very, very first concert I ever went to was to see your brother Harry in Poughkeepsie, New York. I want to say it was 78. I was 11 years old. As with most kids, I absolutely adored Cats in the Cradle, and even Taxi, even though I probably didn't completely understand what it all meant. I grew up very poor, so going to see him was a huge treat. And my parents, even though we really didn't have the money, sprung for a program. And as you know, after a lot of those shows, Harry would stay. He would stay after, even after having performed maybe a show the night before that, traveling wherever he had to travel, and just doing a whole show, he would go out and then let people meet him, what would be a meet and greet now, up front. And at age 11, the one thing that I keep closest to my desk, back there. He signed a program for me.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I remember as a kid, especially for whatever reason, Taxi. If I was in the family car and the song wasn't over yet, and as you know, it's not a short song, we would have it on an 8-track, I wouldn't let anybody out of the car till the song was done. Let's talk about your Grammy Awards. You've won 3 in 01, 02, and 04. For best.
I happen to be upstairs. I wasn't going to be here.
There you go. No, for best spoken word album for children's category. Other people who've won that, I think, are like Audrey Hepburn, Patrick Stewart, Julie Andrews. What goes into putting together albums like that, and how is it different from other projects, or is it not different really at all?
Well, first of all, I've been nominated 8 times for Grammys. The other 5 were for my children's music. The folk category is really hard to, because it's always Bob Dylan or John Prine or someone like that who wins. But in the family recordings, I have 13 family recordings, and they're well thought of. I had this career doing it. And the reason I won these is because those 3 years, I was the only one in the category who was not a movie star or a television star, And once it was, it's Vanessa Redgrave or, whoever, they're narrators, they're actors. And I was the one, and all the people who vote, the only people who vote in that category are people who know children's stuff, and therefore they knew my music. So that's the reason I won these. I'm a good narrator. I'm not, but that was happened. The music category, the kids stuff, it was always won by Elmo, or Sesame Street.
Barney.
Yeah, and those kind of things. And so, which is, I'm not knocking if it's great for a certain thing. So I remember one year, Tony Bennett did a children's record, and he was with Sony with me too. So I went to the Grammys, and I'm nominated, and Tony Bennett's nominated, and a couple other people, and Elmo. And Tony gets pissed because Elmo wins. And we see him at the party. He says, "Can you believe we got beat by a dummy?" Because he'd never lost he'd won so many Grammys. He's got 20 Grammys, whatever. And fabulous singer. I just thought it's a very funny moment. It's a New York moment. Can you believe we got beat by a dummy?
So I sometimes ask artists if they've got a favorite song that they've done, and I know it may be some like trying to pick which child is your favorite, which is tough to do. But is there one that you either like more than the rest, or maybe enjoy performing more than the others?
There's lots, but I think the song, if I had to go down, and it would probably be "This Pretty Planet," song that is being sung by schools all over the world, but especially in America. And we were in spring cleaning mode here. I've been cleaning out these drawers of papers that I've had, forever. When I get something, I just throw it in there. And I came across this picture of me with Christopher Reeve and his family.
Oh, wow.
And after his accident, it turns out this was his and his child's and his wife's favorite song. And I'd forgotten that until I had a picture of us there. I was playing it. I was playing every year then in the theater in Princeton, New Jersey. And Claudia at my office gets a call. I just got a call from a woman who says she's Christopher Reeve's mom, and that he's going to come to your concert. And could Dana and her sing the Judy Collins part? Because Judy Collins sang it on the recording. And she said, "I'm not sure if it's real or not." I said, "Claudia, say yes." Yes, just say yes. And so, okay. So she called back, and that's what happened. And she asked when would it? We didn't rehearse or anything, And when I start the concert, it said, it's an hour concert. And I said, after Family Tree, the song Family Tree, we'll do it. And just as the concert starts, I see them in the back, all full house, 800 kids and adults, the whole families. I see them wheeling the big gurney with Christopher in the back, because at that point he's had that terrible accident. And then we do the concert. I try to forget about it. I get the family tree and I look over it, and there's Dana and her son. I forgot the son's name. And he's about 9 or 10, I think. And I finish, and they come out, and she sings the Judy Collins part perfectly. And I give her such a hug, and she's almost crying and then she goes off. And so, and then afterwards we spent. Did a meet and greet like Harry, and then they waited, and we spent about 45 minutes just talking to him and her, and it was magical. And how a song can mean so much to somebody, you know.
That is our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. A very special thanks to Papa Tom Chapin for joining us. He'll be with us again next week to finish our interview, so please tune back in. And taking us home tonight is Tom Chapin with Pretty Planet.
It's one of the songs used to wake up the astronauts on the Discovery 7 space shuttle.
Oh, wow.
And we woke up John Glenn, and I just was downstairs. I can probably pull it out for you. I just saw a picture that years later, someone who was working at NASA said, you know, I see John Glenn about once a month. He said, you want me to get a picture for you? I said, sure. So I have a picture of him in his full outfit, and he says, Dear Tom, thanks for the wake up. All the best from John Glenn. Because they played, it was like the Discovery 7 space shuttle. One of the publicity things they said was, why don't we, everyone on the shuttle, pick a song to wake them up for the 7 days they're there. So somebody picked "It's a Wonderful World" by Satchmo, but the woman, the wife of the pilot, had 3 kids and had my tape, and he said, I got to come up with a song. She said, Pretty Planet. So here it is. This is written by John Forster and myself, and about to record it, and I had my daughters and a little group of about 5 kids sing It's a Round for the Round Earth, and we needed a woman's voice, so I had the temerity. I thought, who's the perfect voice for this? And I said, Judy Collins. And I called her office. And they sent it and sent her the tape of the song. And didn't hear her for 2 weeks. And I said, oh, well, I'm not going to bug Judy. I mean, come on. So then I get a call. Judy wants to know when the recording session is. And okay. So she sings it, which is beautiful. Your listeners should just Google Tom Chapin and Judy Collins, This Pretty Planet. This pretty planet, spinning through space. You're a garden, you're a harbor, you're a holy place. Golden sun going down, gentle blue giant, spin us around all through the night. Say, till the morning light. That's the whole song, but then it starts as a round, and somebody starts it, and then the kids came in. Actually, then Judy sang it. Kids come in, and I come in, and it works. This wonderful kind of soup. And schools all over America are singing the song. If you Google This Pretty Planet, just Google This Pretty Planet, there are maybe 1,000, especially this year. Teachers need to do things, music teachers need to do something on Zoom. And there's all these YouTubes of teachers teaching this song. And so this is the one that John and I will be known for forever, I think, you know, and it's a nice song to be thought of.